What's up, and welcome to the single player experience. I'm your host, Sebastion Mauldin, and in this episode, we're talking about the most simple but addicting game that I've played in a very long time. I'm serious, I haven't been hooked on a game like this since Civilization 6. In the same way that Civ 6 had me staying up late saying, one more turn, this game has me saying, I'll quit after this last run. So, what is this game? Why am I hooked on it? Why is this game a must try? Why is this game such a good single player experience? Find out right after the intro. DJ, hit the beat. This is the Single Player Experience, the podcast that helps single player gamers manage their video game backlog. I'm your host, Sebastion Mauldin, and my main quest is to help you manage your ever-growing video game backlog by letting you know which single-player games are worth your time and money so that you can have the best single-player experience. Now, without further ado, let's start the show. DJ, cut the beat. I remember the last time that I got jumped. For those of you who don't know what getting jumped is, Urban Dictionary defines it as the act of being maliciously assaulted by two or a large number of individuals, usually physically, but it may be verbal. Last time I got jumped, I was in the 3rd grade. Two other kids came out of nowhere and pounced. It was Stuart and Philip. They were in the same grade as me, and I would later come to find out that they jumped me for my Batman backpack. That's some cold-blooded shit, ain't it? Anyways, they should have thought it through because they didn't know how to fight. Despite the numbers advantage, I ended up whooping that ass. Sadly, I got in trouble just like they did. That was the last time I got jumped. At least until I played the game Vampire Survivors. Vampire Survivors is a bullet hell roguelike indie where you try to survive as long as you can against hordes upon hordes of monsters. These monsters are the ones that jumped me. Unlike what happened with Stuart and Philip though, these ghosts and ghouls often succeed in beating my ass. In this game, you pick a character to play as, each who have their own benefits and early starting weapons, and you're dropped into a large map in what is essentially a single-player horde mode. Despite the simple controls and concept, this game is surprisingly deep. It features a progression system that grants you the choice on which weapons you want to level up in the run that you're currently in. The more you level up your weapons, the more your killing power grows. Trust me, you're gonna need it because the enemies get progressively stronger and stronger. Speaking of the weapons, the game gives you a nice variety to have in your arsenal. The variety helps you change your playstyle and keeps the gameplay fresh. The unique aspect of the gameplay is the fact that you aren't in control of using or firing your weapons. They fire completely on their own. Some weapons fire in a designated manner like in the direction that you're looking at, and then some fire randomly at enemies on the screen. The only thing that you're in control of is choosing which weapons you want to use and upgrade when you level up during a run, and the movement of your character. Taking the weapon control out of the player's hands was a risky gamble, but one that pays off here in a big way, and really helps the game stand out. It's so impressive how fun this game is, and really you're just moving your character around. Another aspect of the game that deserves a major shout out is the game's map variety. These maps force you to try out different strategies. For example, the dairy plant has traps that add a new obstacle for you to think about. In contrast, the forest has a large open area that you can roam around in. It's so big that it might take you time to make your way over to treasure chests, as opposed to the dairy plant, which is a small contained area. This level variety is another way that the game mixes it up and keeps players from feeling any sense of staleness. The game isn't without its faults, so let's talk about the negatives. Let's be honest, Vampire Survivors looks rough. There's no other way of saying it, it looks very rough. The game features a 2D art style design that could have used a lot more TLC. Some of the sprite-based characters are well designed in details, while others feels kinda generic and like they belong in another game entirely. I really have to shout out the cool disintegration effect that happens when your enemies die. I never get tired of seeing it. Another aspect of the game that's a bit lackluster is its music. While it's not bad or anything, it's not memorable and nothing really stands out. It also doesn't really amplify what's going on in the game. A banger soundtrack would have taken the game to the absolute next level. Overall, Vampire Survivors is the perfect example of how the best things in life are often the simplest things. This game doesn't have a lot of the complexities of other roguelike games. Instead, it offers insanely fun and addicting gameplay that will have you saying, just one more run. Vampire Survivors is one of the best games in 2022, and it's a game that you should definitely check out and have in your video game backlog. It's currently on Game Pass for the PC and the Xbox Series X and S, so if you're on either of those platforms, definitely check it out. In this show, we practice the 10 games backlog rule. In this practice, you log down 10 games. Those games are going to be your video game backlog. To be as productive as you possibly can be, we recommend that you only play 3 games at one time. One single player narrative game, one game that's going to be your chill and relax game, and another game that's going to be your palate cleanser game, which is a game that you play when you're not in the mood for your other narrative games. When you complete or get tired of one game, it leaves the backlog list. Then you decide which new game is added to the list, and which game on the list advances to your active 3 games. So where should Vampire Survivors fit in your video game backlog? This is the perfect game to have in your chill and relax spot. It doesn't have a story compelling enough for that main narrative spot. However, this game is so fun to play and has an insanely addicting gameplay loop. It's the perfect game to kick back and play when you want to have fun and relax. So, that is the game recommendation of the week that you should consider adding to your backlog list. If you want me or my community of gamers to give you feedback on your backlog list, then join us in the Single Player Experience Discord server. Once you're in, feel free to share your video game backlog list, or talk about good single player game experiences that you've had lately. The link to join the free Single Player Experience Discord server is in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Peace.